Hey, what's going on everybody? It's Dave in here helping you play creatively. So recently I had a workshop, and at the end of the workshop there was a time for questions. And one of the questions that came up was, how do you apply the circle of fifths? Now, I remember struggling with this same problem early on in my piano playing journey. So I want to offer some tips on how you can use the circle of fifths in regards to finding passing chords, okay? So in the circle of fifths, right? And hopefully Chris can put this up. The circle of fifths goes like this on one side. It goes C, G, D, E, A, E, B, G flat, D flat, A flat, E flat, B flat, F, C. Now what's happening is it's describing the distance from one note to another in regards to it being in fifths. So from C to G is a fifth, okay? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What that means is G is 5 notes away from C within the C major scale. From G to D is a fifth. D is 5 notes away from G in regards to the G major scale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, that extends itself even further. Let's say you get from D to A. A is 5 notes away from D in regards to the D major scale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then the next note would be E. E is 5 notes away from A in regards to the A major scale. Okay, so that's how it begins to fill itself out, okay? Every note that comes next is 5 notes away from the prior note. So one of the challenges I remember having in reading the circle of fifths was I tried to read it like a clock, right? Because we see something going in this certain direction and we're thinking that's how we're supposed to read it and that's how we're supposed to understand it. But actually, there are so many other uses for the circle of fifths. For example, you can read it going counterclockwise, right? Or you can discover your scales with some other patterns that are out there. And there are many videos out there, so we're not going to talk about those. But today we're going to talk about how you can just look at this in regards to applying passing chords. So the tune that I use was Fur-Elise, right? And I used I'm going to call this the B section, okay? I'm no classical pianist, so I have no idea really what section this is, but you guys would be familiar with it if you heard it. All right, so that's where it's coming from, okay? So the basic chords for that section are C, G, A minor, and then E major, okay? So imagine, what would we use the circle of fifths for in regards to applying passing chords? Well, if we look at the C chord, right? What if we were to use a passing chord getting to that C? Well, in the circle of fifths, the next note would be G. Well, I would think that G would then go to D, but really in regards to passing chords, you would go to the next note to find the passing chord for the prior note. So for example, if I'm going to C, I would go to the next note, which is G, and that would give me a dominant passing chord that I can use going to C. So instead of just playing it like that, we can probably do this. Right? That gives me a G going to C. Now stay tuned, okay? Because this is about to get interesting, just like it did when we had the live workshop session, okay? So, and then what was next? We went to a G. Okay, so what is the passing chord that we can use in the circle of fifths, right? Well, on the circle of fifths, what comes after G is D. So now we can use a D going to the G, all right? So all right, things are starting to get interesting. Now, you may be saying, wait a minute, wait a minute, wait a minute. You didn't use a D major going to the G. You used F sharp minor 7 flat 5 or F sharp half diminished 7. You're absolutely right. However, I'm still thinking the D major chord first, right? Now, even though with this D major chord, what I'm beginning to do is I'm beginning to take out some of the notes from that chord, right? And so I'm taking out the D and I'm omitting the D. And since I've omitted the D, there's not going to be too much of a clash if I go ahead and add that dominant 7 in there. Okay, so we first had a G going to the C that we borrowed from the circle of fifths. It was the note next. G was next to C, right on the right. And then we borrowed the D going to G. And D was next, okay, going to G. All right, so the next note is an A minor. Okay, now what is the next note that comes after A in the circle of fifths? It would be E. So we can use an E major going to the A minor. So, woo. So now here's what it sounds like. Oh my gosh, I love it so far, right? All right, and then that is the next note within this progression, right? So it's our next chord, which is an E major. So, all right, and so what comes after E in the circle of fifths? It would be B, right? So now we can use that B major going to E. So many of you guys wonder, how do you begin to play chords that are outside of the scale? You got to go to the circle of fifths. That is going to be so helpful in helping you navigate that so well, okay? So now let's hear what it sounds like. So, all right? So I can play it like that. Or I can change the inversion, which is what I really want to do. So I'm going to go to this. I'm going to go to a B major over a D sharp, okay? But it's still following the idea from the circle of fifths, okay? All right, clearly I don't know the tune that well, but I'm trying to explain the concepts around it rather than, play for at least right? So I hope you understand here. And I wanted to use something that's outside of the genre I'm playing so that you can understand the circle of fifths really applies to music, general music. It's not specifically related to like gospel only or jazz only, right? It's related to music, okay? So it's so fundamental. Hey guys, thanks so much for watching. If you like content like this, do me a favor, go ahead and like and subscribe. Also, if you want to learn the piano in a step-by-step process, you want to learn passing chords, chord substitutions, inner voicing movement, you want to learn things from the gospel and jazz world, go ahead and check out my website, play-creatively.com, where you can find everything you need to grow as a piano player. Also, if you want to learn more about passing chords right now, just go ahead and click on this link right here. Hey, I'll see you guys next time.